Regardless of where you're at in your education, you know that having high grades can get you the next job, opportunity, or admission to the program of your dreams. My name is Dani Kilani. I'm a medical student in Canada as well as a YouTuber. To get admitted to a Canadian medical school, I had to ensure that my grades were high by getting a 4.0 in nearly every single class. Improving your grades has a lot to do with strategies and execution, which we'll get into over the course of this video. Before we get into the top 5 reasons why you aren't getting the grades you want and how you can overcome those barriers, leave a comment down below and help out your fellow viewer by telling us one strategy that you have used in the past to raise your grades. Reason number 1 is that after getting a grade that you aren't happy with, you have failed to evaluate the reasons that led to that grade. If you aren't getting the grades that you want, you need to start thinking about why that is the case and what you can do to make a change. Albert Einstein is credited with saying that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Many people believe that their grades are not capable of being improved because they are not smart enough. I'm here to tell you that this is not the case. My first test in university was a biology midterm where I scored 70%. And I was devastated. Instead of fixating on the poor results of my exam, I instead started to look online for resources and videos on how I could go about improving my grades in university. Going forward, I incorporated new strategies into the way I studied, and I was able to end the course with a 4.0. If what you are doing is not working, then try something new. The other reasons in this video will give you an idea of things you can try, so stick around for those. Reason number 2 is that you are studying passively. One of the biggest game changers for my learning was understanding the difference between active learning and passive learning. Passive learning is where your brain is just observing the content, but it isn't doing any of the heavy lifting. Passive methods of studying include reading and rereading your notes, rewatching lectures, and rewriting your notes. Trust me when I say that I have tried these methods and that they are in no way as effective as active learning. So what is active learning? Active learning involves retrieving information from your memory, applying information that you've learned into new contexts, and testing yourself before your instructor does by using practice problems or practice tests. This is the highest quality learning because it not only helps you identify your weaknesses, but also allows you to improve your memory of the content. Well, why isn't everyone doing active learning if it's so great, you might ask? Active learning is more difficult because it forces your brain to do more work. A Harvard study compared active and passive learning when applied in a classroom, and students who participated in active learning showed significantly improved performance. However, they perceived active learning more negatively, possibly due to how taxing it can be. To implement active learning in your own studying, you can try a few different things. The most social strategy involves making a sheet of questions based on your notes, then spending time with a study group and taking turns explaining the answer. Another possibility is to make flashcards either by hand or using applications like Anki or Quizlet. Lastly, if your instructor provides you with practice questions or a practice test, make sure to go through those without referencing your notes. Reason number 3 is that you aren't customizing your study techniques to different courses. We all have the understanding that different courses require different study techniques. You wouldn't spend all of your time studying for a math test by only looking at the theories alone. You would prioritize doing practice problems. The same goes for any other course, and it takes some experimentation to figure this out. You can take this a step further and customize your study techniques to particular courses and methods of evaluation. One way to do this is to talk to students who have taken the course previously and get an idea of what helped them and what didn't. This includes getting a better idea of how you will be examined. You can ask if the exam tends to be more application of knowledge or brute memorization. You can also ask about which resources like textbooks and slides are most helpful. Many times throughout my education, professors have given required readings that are excluded from the test. Being a student with significant time restraints, you need to think about focusing your time on the material that matters most when test day comes. Similar to the last point about choosing the right resources, many students focus too much on the nitty-gritty details at the cost of having a broader understanding of the content. It's better for your understanding to work on the generalities before filling in the details. Another concern for many students is hierarchical or numerical information. For example, you might learn about the 10 wealthiest and 10 poorest countries in the world in an economics class. If you're lacking time, focus on memorizing the 1 or 2 wealthiest and 1 or 2 poorest of the countries on the list. You're most likely to be asked about the top and bottom of these lists as opposed to the middle. You can also work on getting an understanding of what the general characteristics are of the countries on the list. This same thing can be applied to any time you have lists of items to remember. A fairly common target for many students who are performing poorly academically is to point fingers at their work ethic. If your work ethic is truly lacking, then focus on it. But the more significant problem for a good number of students is that they're putting in the time, but that time is not being used effectively. Try to remember the last time you were working on something and time just seemed to pass by while you were blazing through your work. This experience is called a flow state, and there are ways that we can make it more likely to happen. A simple one that you can promote in your work is called the Pomodoro technique. If you've seen other videos on this channel, you've probably heard about this before. The Pomodoro technique involves chunking your time into smaller segments of work with breaks in between. The most common form of the Pomodoro technique involves working for 25 minutes, followed by a 5-minute break, then repeating this cycle 4 more times for a total of 2.5 hours. During the 25 minutes of work, you need your environment to be absolutely distraction-free. This includes social media, chatting with the people around you, as well as anything else that might take your mind off the task at hand. At first, it'll probably be difficult to stop checking how much time is left. But as you gain more experience, you can enter the flow state more easily and start to increase the amount of time at work beyond 25 minutes. If you're looking for a free app that will organize the timing for you, you can try out Tomato Timer. There are many other applications and websites like Tomato Timer that you can find online to start using the Pomodoro technique. If you implement what I've shared with you into your studying leading up to exams and implement it well, you'll start to see improvements in your grades. If you found this video helpful, smash the like button. You can also subscribe to my channel for more on self-improvement and advice to get you admitted to medical school. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.